Good evening, everyone. My name is Maureen Wilson. I'm very proud to be the councillor of Ward 1, which includes the wonderful neighborhood of Strathcona and Victoria Park. And we're here to discuss some amenities that are in the works for Victoria Park, the near, medium, and long term. And we wanted to begin that conversation tonight with the community. Just for your information, we are recording this virtual meeting. And the reason we do that is we make it available on the Ward 1 website. So there may be some neighbors who weren't able to join us this evening. That way they can access it. We also provide a summary of the questions and the answers for people in the near future. As is our practice, I will begin the meeting with a land acknowledgement, and then I will commence with some introductions of some very talented people who are joining me tonight. So the City of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. So tonight our focus is on the spray pad replacement, a sun shelter, the play structure, and the pool and the pool house. And I will not be delving into details. I'll let the staff who are here with us. Jonathan Van Driel, he's the project manager in the Landscape Architectural Services Division, which is located in the Department of Public Works. Megan Stewart, a supervisor with Landscape Architecture. Andrea McDonald, a senior project manager in the Parks section of Public Works. Dawn Walton, the manager of recreation in the Department of Healthy and Safe Communities. Luann Duxbury, senior project manager in facilities, which is also in Public Works, and Janet Warner, who is the acting manager in facilities of Public Works. I know some of these folks better than some better than others, but what I can tell you that in the last 2 years of holding public office, I have really come to appreciate the talent and the integrity and the commitment of public servants. And I know they're all oriented toward excellence, and I'm very appreciative of their time tonight. So I'm going to hand it over right now to Jonathan. Jonathan, over to you. Thank you. And by the way, thank you to everyone who is joining us tonight. Really appreciate your engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you again to everyone who's on the call tonight. We really appreciate your interest in this project, and we're happy to have you here, and we want to share more about this with you tonight. As the councillor mentioned, we're going to be talking about a few initiatives that are planned for Victoria Park. And I want to first just present you with this screen and this agenda of what we'll kind of be delving into a bit further tonight. We'll first introduce you to what exactly it is we're doing and why we're doing this, more importantly. I'll give you a bit of context on Victoria Park and where it sits within the community and the features that are within the park itself. And then we'll delve a bit deeper into some of the park improvements that we have planned in the near, mid, and further on future. The spray pad replacement, a new sun shelter, the play structure, accessibility enhancements, as well as the pool and pool house renewal. Finally, as Stephanie and the councillor mentioned, we'll share some thoughts on how you can get involved and stay informed. And then we'll have Q&A discussion at the end of this presentation. So what exactly it is, or what exactly is it that we're doing tonight, and that we're doing for this park? Tonight we're providing you with information about upcoming improvements to the various park amenities. And above all else, we are trying to initiate a dialogue between city staff and the community of where you can reach us, how you can get in touch, how you can get involved in this, in the planning process, but also really how you can stay informed about what's happening in this park in the future. So why are we doing this? The answer, I think, is threefold, and so I'm going to kind of break it down that way. I'm going to start with a bit of a macro level here. There is an inherent value in public space. Investments are needed now more than ever before. We've seen this, of course, through the last year and a half with the pandemic. People really value the spaces public spaces, now more than ever before. They use them to get fresh air, to congregate, to relax, to just be a part of civic life. And so investments in this type of infrastructure, the city is really trying to promote. Narrowing it down a bit further on kind of a site context level, we are continuing the legacy of the Victoria Park Master Plan implementation. This was a multi-year park renewal plan prepared in 2007. It was a plan that tried to kind of capture what exactly was in the park existing at the time, and then initiate projects that could take place or improve upon the park in years to come. And so these projects are speak to that Victoria Park Master Plan. Now to narrow it down a bit further, why are we doing this from kind of a project level? Some of the amenities in this park are at the end of their life cycle and they require replacement. I'll get into that in a bit more detail in next coming slides. Some of the amenities as well could just use enhancement, and we'll explain that further as well in the coming slides. So just to give you a bit of a context and background to the park and from a site context neighborhood perspective, let's look at this park from where it fits into the neighborhood. It is a 5.7 hectare community park. It serves the residents of Strathcona neighborhood, Ward 1, and beyond. So not just the residents of Strathcona and Ward 1, but also people who want to, say, come and use the community garden, use the skating rink that's there right now. You drop off a Sobe bike at the bike station. So that being said, this is a very highly programmed park, and there are many amenities that are within this park itself. So on that note, I just wanted to kind of highlight what park amenities exist in Victoria Park. There's a long list of them: tennis courts, the community garden, the fitness stations, a parking lot, open lawn, multi-use courts, a Sobe bike station, park facility building, a baseball field, a perimeter pathway loop, and as I mentioned, even a skating rink that's within the baseball diamond now. So it gets use all year round. There's a lot going on in this park. The area of focus that we want to focus on, that we want to talk to you about this evening, is actually the north half of the park that you can see in the red dotted line on the map to the right of your screen. And that is the pool and pool house, the play structure and swings, and the spray pad. So when we look at the site from a historical context, this park really does have a storied history. It is the site of indigenous and colonial trading. It was once the site of military staging, and it was also the site of the former Crystal Palace structure, an agricultural exhibition hall, and that image is to the right of your screen. That's what it actually looked like in the 19th century. I'll get into a bit of that structure itself in the subsequent slides, but it does kind of play a role in how this park kind of will shape in the future. But it became this, Victoria Park did become an actual municipal park in 1900 when what was then the Hamilton Parks Board took it over. It's since then been a municipal, been in the city's hands since the year 1900. So on the note of historical significance, you may have seen, for those of you who live in the area and frequent the park on a regular basis, you may have seen a bit of digging happening in the park last year. City staff retained an archaeologist to undertake archaeological investigations in the year 2020. They did several field investigations by way of test pit digging at the north end of the site. And this was they did this to document and uncover any culturally significant elements that could potentially exist within the park itself. This investigation is really meant to inform the design and location of new amenities, as well as mitigation measures and methods to construction. So when staff go forward to look at where things could potentially go, where new amenities could be located, where things could be dug up a little bit, the archaeology investigation will really help inform how that kind of method and that process has to play out. So bringing us back then to now the site context at the present day. As I mentioned, this is kind of a reiterating slide, but there is a need for park amenity upgrades here. The spray pad in particular is at the end of its life cycle and does require replacement. There are cracks in the concrete. There are some mechanical issues with some of the water spraying components. So these types of features warrant it, or these types of repair work warrants life cycle replacement. There are other elements that could use accessibility enhancements, and I'll get into that with regard to the playground and the pool and pool house as well. So now we'll get into a bit of the park improvement projects and kind of focus in one by one on what kind of the plans are for them in the years to come. Again, this is just kind of a blow up shot of what where the three sites are located. We have this play structure at the kind of the northeast end of the site. The pool and pool house renewal, the pool and pool house are located at the far west end of the site. And the spray pad replacement and sun shelter. This particular spray pad right now is located at the kind of in the central portion of the north half of the site. So we'll get right into the spray pad replacement and new sun shelter. The spray pad replacement, as I mentioned, the spray pad is at the end of its life cycle right now. And so it is up for renewal and replacement. At the same time, we wanted to look at the option of, or the intention of putting in a new sun shelter for this park. Currently there are no shade structures or pavilions, if you will. And this came out of the park master plan, the Victoria Park master plan, completed in 2007. So the spray pad replacement and sun shelter are kind of a focus of this particular park improvement that we're going to talk about a bit further. As I mentioned, some of the existing conditions right now, the spray pad itself does have a lot of aging features. As I mentioned, cracks in the concrete, mechanical issues. There are actually pedestrian and cyclist circulation issues in this area, in this zone as well. And this has been kind of brought up in the past that, you know, if you are a pedestrian or a cyclist and you're walking, say, from Peter Street up to Lamoureux or Peter Street to Florence Street or vice versa, those kind of neighborhood streets in the east and the west, you likely have to pass through this space. And so sometimes that can lead to a bit of a conflict with kids using the spray pad in the summer months and people that are just simply trying to pass through the site. So staff are kind of undertaking a location and site analysis at this point in time. Considerations include locating both of these features, a potential or a sun shelter and a spray pad, trying to kind of locate these features in proximity to one another. We want to kind of recognize that there is sort of like a natural gathering point, particularly at the confluence of these pathways here where the existing spray pad is located. And again, we do want to consider that pedestrian and cyclist connection and circulation as well. So really trying to look at where to mitigate conflict for circulation, but then also try and facilitate gathering points as well. A sun shelter could potentially facilitate the gathering points, and the spray pad could also kind of work together with that. Preserve existing large mature trees. We do recognize that this park does have a lot of mature trees, in particular close to the spray pad and the pool house right now. Large silver maples, these do present a lot of value to the park, and so tree preservation will be a large consideration as part of this site planning and design. Another thing I wanted to talk about too was the idea of locating these elements close to where the spray pad exists now. There's another good reason for doing that, particularly for the spray pad, and that's because the water servicing actually exists in its location right now. If we do plan a spray pad in this nearby or current location, it really then allows us to kind of mitigate where we're ripping up the space itself. So we're not going to have to then dig for water lines to the street or anything like that. The servicing is already in its location. Some of the design inspirations that we're looking at currently right now for spray pad are I've provided some images on the left side of your screen here. There are various types of water play, we call it, that kids can really take advantage of. And these types of spray pads are located across the city. You see things like the jets that come out of the ground, the underground jets. Sometimes there's overhead spray. Sometimes there's more interactive type spray water features. This is something that we're going to be looking to the community for feedback on in terms of what types of water play you feel would be best suited for a spray pad like this. We'll get into that and how you can get involved in that process in a bit further detail in the upcoming slides. The sun shelter, moving on to that one, we do see this as an opportunity to reflect and celebrate the historical character of former structures. And I had the Crystal Palace structure photograph as kind of an inset to this rendering that you see on the right-hand side of your screen, as kind of a way that of potentially paying homage to the past by implementing something that could really be a future asset. This was also expressed in the Victoria Park Master Plan. So it's something, again, that we could potentially take advantage of while still really celebrating the historical features that once were there. In terms of timeline, we're currently in the process of conducting the studies and investigations. As I mentioned earlier, archaeology and archaeological investigation, the field work itself took place last year. Now comes the part where we're doing a lot of reporting. There's communications between the archaeologist and the ministry, the provincial ministry that's involved in reviewing this process. So there's a bit of back and forth there that needs to be done in the winter and spring, as well as I mentioned, community engagement through a user survey for spray pad features. We've put up a site on the Engage Hamilton website. I'll provide more information to that toward the end of the presentation, so you can find out how to get involved. In the summer and fall of 2021 of this year, we're going to be doing more site planning and detailed design, whereby we're going to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of where exactly these two features will be located within the park, and then how exactly they will be built, based on a lot of the feedback then, of course, that we receive for spray pad features as well. We then anticipate construction for next year, for the spring, summer of 2022. Again, this is an anticipated construction date, and so we are working toward that date for next year. So moving now on to the playground modifications. Here's just a quick image as to where it's located within the park. The, the playground itself did undergo a replacement in 2016. And there was a larger climbing net structure that was added in 2018. So the first point there says just that this playground did have a life cycle replacement a few years ago, and then there's kind of a new kind of circular climbing structure that was added 2 years ago. As part of a council initiative, actually, staff are investigating additional play structure elements that could enhance the accessibility and play opportunities at this play structure location. So these are things like larger slides, play panels. You sometimes see those musical notes or tic-tac-toe boards, those kinds of things. These new elements may be included as additions to the existing play structure and or as standalone features within the play area footprint, meaning if these kind of enhancements that we want to add to the playground, we would add to where you see that kind of wood chipped area where the playgrounds exist currently. So again, just a timeline of where we're at with this as well. Research and investigation is taking place right now as to what types of play elements can enhance accessibility. And as I said, be added to the existing playground footprint. In the spring of this year, we want to reach out again to the community. And we'll be providing a user survey for what types of accessibility features you'd like to see in these play structures. And then based on the survey results and a proposed budget will be brought forward. And we anticipate or hope that this project will move forward later this summer. So moving on then to the pool and pool house renewal. This is just a quick location map of where we're at with this geographically within the site. It is at the far northwest corner. Fenced in pool area and pool house itself. Existing conditions. So the pool itself was built in the mid 1970s. It's been quite the asset for the community over the last several decades. So it's gotten a lot of use. It is starting to see its wear as well. And so now comes the time when staff are looking at what types of renewal will it look like in the future. So we're very much at a high level preliminary investigative state with this one. Currently underway are things like a recreational user needs review, as well as accessibility review, looking at how people of all ages and abilities can access this site, the facility itself, as well as the pool structure. Examining the existing facilities life cycle. So when and how will things maintain for the next several years, and what type of delivery do we needs to be undertaken to extend this level of service that it provides right now. Things like minor investments, repair and replacement work, such as mechanical systems. So you might see that coming in the next little while. Of course, we'll also have to consider at the same time the archaeological investigation. So the archaeological investigation actually took place as part of a larger north half of the site to kind of encapsulate all of these projects. So with that, it will also then inform how the renewal of the pool and pool house project moves forward in the future. So how to get involved and stay informed. This is important. Outreach. So ask questions tonight. Please feel free to ask questions of any of us tonight on hand. Tell us what you think. So as I mentioned, we do have right now an online user survey that will be available for about the next month or so on the Engage Hamilton website. The website is just at the bottom of your screen here, engage.hamilton.ca. On there, you'll find a link and link to a survey as to how you can actually get involved and tell us what you think and what you'd like to see in terms of spray pad features. As I mentioned, there will also be an Engage Hamilton survey done. Look for that a little bit later on in the spring, and that will give you a chance to comment on feedback for the play structure as well. And then, of course, do try and stay informed. And where you can stay informed is either through one of us, staff. We're all kind of tackling each different component of the park here, but we also yeah, and that's our contact information on the screen. There's also hamilton.ca/Victoria Park Improvements. There you'll be able to find kind of what exactly is all going on here. We also will post this presentation for your viewing as well. There will be a link on that website to the Engage Hamilton platform. So again, we'll try and update this site as much as possible to really try and keep you informed as to how things will play out for this park in the next several years.
This is a great park. It's a large space, but in my opinion, it's designed in such a way, it works. You can have be with people, or you can find a quiet space. I like the lines of it. They're very sort of Olmsted in nature at the north end. And design is important for us to keep an eye on that we don't sacrifice that as well. So thank you very much for your feedback. I know you will be providing more feedback and questions. I would encourage you to do so. And I'd like to thank everyone who assisted me tonight, because I rely on them a great deal, along with the community, and they are a great resource. So thank you all to the members of the city staff for taking time out of your evening after working today. So stay tuned and stay engaged. Thank you very, very much.